did that before people even really, they let guys protest, let us protest for maybe a week. And then Friday they came out with that saying now if you don't have a permit and you got over 50 people, they're gonna come break it up. So that was kind of
Right.
their way to say, all right, we heard y'all, but we're gonna squash all of this now.
Right, because they
And
pretty
so
much understand that we're not gonna go get a permit.
yeah, and that's the thing. We ain't gonna go get a permit, but it's crazy because it was no looting or anything. It was just people protesting. But they shut that down as fast as they possibly could and want to keep the status quo.
Yeah. All right. So we got a live Twitter feed. And we got a live Facebook feed. And we got a live YouTube feed. And we still got 2 minutes. So I'm doing all right.
You know what's a real crazy thing, man? Like when all this started kicking off, we got a group chat, me and my guys, my kid, and I just sent them a message and just asked them to give examples of things that they have seen or thought that wasn't right because of race, and it was just crazy to see the super long list of stuff, just basic stuff, like even teachers just not even thinking, like they get a grade that's higher than a teacher think that they should get, and they go digging to try to see if they exceed it, and just little stuff like that, man. That it's crazy that this stuff has been so routine in life forever that people don't even really just think about it until you got to sit down and really think and put it out. Like there's just stuff that we have had to accept forever. Because I was telling them, I can remember when I was in school, I felt the same way. Get a good grade, they want to check. How'd you get that? And and just little crazy stuff, man. The hoodies, you telling some kids, say nothing to some kids about a hoodie, but they got to take theirs off. And just so many ways that little black boys, black girls are being policed from just being black. Like that's hard. That's hard to see little black boys, black.
Right. Even when it comes down to the girls and they're saying, well, you can't wear leggings, but then another girl has on the exact same outfit, but she's allowed to wear it.
Yep.
It's just because the body type is different.
I agree.
See this up so I can see the comments here. I got it set up now. We can go ahead and get started.
Are you still coaching track too, Coach?
I'm doing cross country.
Cross country? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not doing the summer track that I was doing. I just didn't have the time to do it, and my daughter went unattached. So that made a big difference.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and see nobody trying to get in. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the record button and start.
Okay.
And shoot, it's two's a crowd. That's great.
Yeah.
If anybody got questions on social media, they can ask and hey, get it going. Let me hit the record button. Hello, how's everybody doing? This is Coach McKissick. This is Be the Round Media presents A Crucial Conversation, Volume 2. If you do want to get in on a conversation, you can comment on your social media, and we'll try to send you a link But as of right now, we have Coach Darren Douglas and myself, and we're just really going to have a conversation and talk about some things, ask a few questions, and try to field some questions that we have on here. We have Facebook Live, we have Periscope, we have Twitter, we have YouTube Live. So, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. If you're one of the guys that have the code and want to get on the panel, hey, hop on in. If you just don't have a code, you want to get it, just comment. We'll send you the link to come in and talk. So I guess we'll start the conversation off with the question of just how do you feel right now?
You want me to go, Coach?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right now it's a conflicted feeling. With everything and seeing people that you may have thought were friends and things like that to be quiet, you feel angry and you feel unseen. But just studying history the way that I have and just looking at things, I also feel hopeful just because it looks different now. We were watching a documentary the other day on the 92 riots, and you've seen people out protesting, and it was just us. And you see now there are way more nationalities, way more ethnicities out just saying that enough is enough and that people are tired. So, I don't let go of the angry feeling that I have because enough is enough, but I also feel more hopeful than usual that things can and should be different this time.
I was muted. I had myself muted. I'm still probably pretty much in that same boat of a little bit confused and just trying to figure out what do you do? Are you supposed to be angry? Are you supposed to be upset? Where do you draw the line from being a professional, as in you want to make sure you don't say anything to risk your employment status, or the fact that you're mad, you're upset, and is it okay to say that you're mad? Is it okay to say that you're upset? And sometimes you really don't know. Like, am I supposed to say something? You don't care about what people say about you, but you don't necessarily want to sell out your whole community because it could easily be you. Like you could be
Yes.
the one that was laid out on the ground. And then, like you said, the silence. If had it been me, would it say, "Oh, Coach Mack was a great dude," and then end the conversation, because the friends that you have that are silent, would they still be silent if they knew you, or they just be silent, being silent because they don't know you? So that's kind of what pops up in my head.
Yeah, that's a really hard thing to think. And to be honest, I've let a lot of people go during this to just see nobody should be generalized. I don't think that all of anything is bad. You know, but just to generalize us and to see people want to come back and pick George Floyd's life apart and say that he didn't deserve the proper way. You know what I mean? Like, that man's life was taken from him. And that people are still out here justifying that over politics or over fear or over not wanting to let go of their piece of the pie and let somebody else have a piece of it. I just think that that's, those type of people I don't want to affiliate with. And that's just it. I was in the same boat as you. You want to speak out. Like, this ain't the first time that this is happening. You want to speak out all the time. And you may get people to tell you to tone it down a bit. I've had people hit me up and tell me they thought completely wrong about me. They thought I was one of the good ones. And I don't know what that means, but I mean, I do know what it means. But if they're not forthcoming enough and have enough courageousness to say that, then I don't even pay attention to that. That lets you know, it would be different if we were out here speaking out on the side of wrong.
Right.
We just want people that look like us, the majority of the kids that we coach and minister to every day. We want them to not have to jump through all these extraordinary hoops just to be able to live. We want people to be able to know what it feels like to not be policed and actually have someone protect you. Like those are things that I just, I feel real strongly about, even more so than a job at this point, because, we'll all have grandkids one day, and I want to be able to say the right stuff when they ask me what was I doing when all of this was going on.
Right. And like you said, they say one of the good ones, and you say, well, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. You thought I was someone who wouldn't speak up for myself. Is that what you're saying?
And that's exactly, yeah.
Right. And like I've said from the beginning, it's not a popular opinion, but I don't condone you looting and rioting only because it's illegal.
Yeah.
If this was a legal thing, then there'd be no issue. But the fact that you burning down, that's larceny. So yes, that's wrong. However, I can't be upset with how you feel. I understand completely why you're doing what you're doing. However, why I say you're wrong is because you have now committed, arson. Like you burned something down. And then it came to the point, I was thinking earlier, I think it was yesterday, I thought about when we grew up, if you wanted to watch something on TV, you had to wait until it came on. If you wanted to write a paper, whether it be in high school or college, you had to learn the MLA format, the ELA format, all the AP, whatever formats they have. You had to learn it. You had to read it in a book. And you wanted information, you had to get it out the encyclopedia. Now they don't, and if I wanted to talk to somebody, I had to pick up the phone. They had to be at home when I made that call. If they weren't, the mama would say, oh, well, she ain't here. He ain't here. Call back at blah, blah time. If I wanted to talk to somebody that was away and I couldn't make a long distance call, I had to write a letter. However, now, this generation, if they want to talk to somebody, they can hit them up on Instant Messenger. They can slide in the DMs. They can do this. If they want to write a paper, they can Google something and get instant feedback. So they really haven't been cultured to wait. They haven't been taught patience through just across the board. They don't know patience, and they won't know patience because that's something that we learned. Like we had to learn how you wait on a process. They're used to the microwave generation. So now when they see things happening in their young adult eyes, they think that, well, you saw the video, the man should be arrested. We understand that it don't always work just that quick, but they don't. So now they're frustrated because you took a generation that's used to getting instant feedback and telling them to wait on a 6 month, a 2 month, a 12 month, a 2 year trial to get justice, and they're just not with it. They're just like, and now we're upset with them, trying to tell them to be patient. The community in whole telling them to be patient, but they never had to be patient with anything else. So I don't know what to say about that.
I'm happy that they don't have patience for it. I during this time I've been watching a lot of James Baldwin videos, and I watched a video from him the other day, and he was basically saying, how much longer do we have to wait for progress? Like, he said he waited his mom and dad's lifetime, his grandparents' lifetime, his uncles, his aunts, his brothers and sisters, that was way back in the 80s when that video was done. And here we are way in 2020, and we still talking about the same stuff. Mm-hmm. We still talking about the same stuff. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that this changes all overnight. I think this is a long, long, long process that's gonna have to take place for things to even get close to being equal. But I think we can definitely mark off steps along the way, and I think just a big part of it is people feeling safe. Like, I don't understand how everyone isn't outraged because of that, but when you read history and you understand how some mindsets are, you do. But to the young generations, I would say to them, please don't commit crimes. It's so easy for us to get thrown in this system, and when you do, it's very, very hard to get out. I don't know too many people who have been thrown in this system and has gotten out safely. But at the same time, don't stop asking. Don't stop. Like, this is something that's worthwhile to be impatient for. It's worthwhile to want better, a better world for everybody. And I think what people are upset about and speaking out about, if we can get some movement on that, you make things a little bit better for the world. And it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's the same way if we were working out to be good at basketball. At the beginning, you're not gonna be that good at it. You're gonna be tired every day, you're gonna be beat down. But by the end of it, you're gonna be, it's not gonna be the same. And so that's what I try to look at with this. And like I said, I feel uplifted because there's so many different races out now speaking up for Black people, which I've never seen in my life.
Right. And it's crazy because I remember when the whole Black Lives Matter movement came up a few years ago, we got an email at the place I was working and basically saying that you can't wear those shirts, you can't do this. It's looked at as a hate group. They can have meetings about anything else, but if you kind of shade it towards doing that, then they straight up said you were in the same boat as the Ku Klux Klan, and now fast forward a few years, you see it on Amazon, you see it on, you turn your video game on, it's all, now it's flipped. It's like, if you're not acknowledging that a life matters, then you're part of the problem. And I was reading, scripture earlier, and it kind of reflected on where we're at. I don't have it was in Judges, and basically, which is odd, the guys were, it was a traveler and he went to somebody's house, and that traveler, I guess he was a handsome guy. I don't know, because a bunch of other guys came to the door and said, hey, we want to have sex with that dude. So, whole nother conversation. However, the guy who was keeping him in, he said, no, you can't have sex with the guy, the guy that I'm housing, but here's my virgin daughter. And, like I said, I can't explain that at all. But, going through that story, they sent the daughter out, and all the men raped her and killed her and did, basically treated her so bad that she died. And what he did was he cut her body up and sent it out to the world and asked, what are you going to do about this injustice? And at that point, it was like the world, then all the Israelites, they stood up and said, you know what, we're not going to have that. We're going to find out who was wrong, and we're going to go out and get them. And it seems as though that's where we are now. It was that, you've done so much that it came down to this was the last straw. And now the whole world is standing up saying, you know what, we're not having it. You got people in Paris, you got people in, all different countries, talking about this when it's been happening. But there was something that happened that it hit everybody. It was spread out so far that now everybody cares. So it's like, that kind of, I was like, wow, that's crazy, because that's what's happening right now. It's like, yeah, that wasn't the only person that was raped in the Bible, and that wasn't the only, injustice. It happened all throughout the Bible. But this time, everybody stood up, and whoever stood up against that, they had an issue with it. And that's kind of where we are now. Is you're seeing a lot of, my wife works in a company, and they put out a message kind of like, here's our blanket statement. And a lot of people didn't like it because it seemed so ingenuine. So they made some noise about it, and they had a whole meeting, and then they came back out with some real change. And it was like, you try to do the things you did in the past thinking that it's going to get you by, but it doesn't. So like you said, and I'm glad that those kids who they're not worrying about, like, hey, I'm 12, 13 years in the education, and if I say the wrong thing, what am I going to do with all these degrees? Damn, they right out of college. They don't have
Yep.
lose, or not even in college. So it's almost like they're speaking what you can't really say, because you're so worried that if I do say something, what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's been it. And it's just been it's been courageous. Like I've shared a few things that I've gone through or seen people go through, and I think that gives other people courage to speak up about it, and it gives people a view into what people deal with. Like I'm just like I know in my experience as being a black man or just seeing black people wanting to be excellent, you get so many people against that. Not only not we get it from ourselves, but you really can see institutional things being put in place. Like I can remember my first couple of years of coaching, you know, only not a lot of us in the school, and we go to the weight room, and anytime we go to the weight room, we get an email. Hey, if you go in the weight room, it needs to be cleaned up. Da, da, da. Like every single time that we went, to the point where I took that to my guys as saying, hey, let's not complain. Let's vacuum. Let's wipe down everything. Let's be servant leaders, right? Let's take that what's being thrown at us, which we know is being thrown at us, and let's come out to show it that we're stronger than that, we're bigger than that, that won't knock us off. Now, what I hope comes from all of this is we have a world where that kind of stuff kind of lessens. That kind of stuff lessens for us. It's not just everything that's against us, from the unequal school systems and every. I mean, it starts in every root and crevice of American society. If you're in a place where it's allowed to fester, or it's somewhere that it's normal. So, you know, like I tell my guys all the time, just get out here, be excellent, try to be as excellent as you can, regardless of what someone's race is. Be the best person you can be to them every single day, because everybody won't remember how many dunks you had in a game or how many threes you made. But I can remember people from 4 or 5 years old in my life, how they made me feel when I was around them. People will always remember how you made them feel. And I really want people on the other side to get that. Like, that's what this moment is. When people are speaking out, they just really want people to understand, with some of this stuff that goes on, you make people feel so less and so bad and so almost grimy to deal with some of this stuff all the time. And we still are expected to get out here and be excellent and do whatever else we got to do.
Right. So my question is, now that people are listening, how do you, as a black coach, make sure that you don't take, black and white, you don't take your personal opinion and create another culture of racism? So now it's like I'm having the conversation, pointing it out to kids, and you don't want to say, you don't want to give, you mold those kids' minds. So you don't want to be the one that now you've made 15 to 30 young black men racist in their mind, because now they met every white person that, like, every white person is not against you. The majority of them are not. And that's the crazy thing. It's kind of like if you worked in a school, you already know it's only 5 to 10 kids that need to be out of there. And it'll give the whole school a bad rap, like, oh, that school is hood, it's ghetto. But you already know, but they got paperwork on them, you can't get rid of them, you got 10 days and you got to go through so much, or the person that supposed to write them up didn't do it properly, so you ain't called the mama. So it's like most of the school is good, and that's kind of where we're at. So how do you not get your kids to label a whole generation?
You always point stuff out to them, and you keep them around positive people of other races. Like, we have people that come in and speak to our guys, and like, we have a white assistant coach who's great with our guys. Like, it's more with us. It ain't about. It's just about how people treat you. Like, if people treat you well, if they are about, then you can't give them that. But I do want it to be more. I do want people to have a voice to speak out when things affect them now, though, where I feel like as long as I've been in this, we've never had a voice when that stuff hits us. It's almost like just deal with it. So, I mean, I guess to answer your question, was just to always have conversations. Like, we do book studies. we have something that we call Warrior Academy, where we do some journaling. We go over some things about what we look for as manhood and how we're going to be great teammates, great community members, husbands one day, fathers one day, co-workers one day, and none of that has to do with race. And I really just think that if we're doing our job as coaches, really trying to coach the heart and really like being honest with kids and giving them a forum to speak, I think that's how you combat it. Yeah, we cannot get out here and every time something goes on, it can't just be, oh, that's racist. Mm-hmm. But I think that we're in the place that we're in because we have never been able to acknowledge it when it happens. It's always been told to be quiet, in my experience.
Yeah. Oh, you just whining. You wonder if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic and everything shut down, would this have even made so?
It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have at all. It was a perfect storm of events, and I don't want to use perfect, but it was just like so much stuff that distracts us from you thinking. I know myself, if NBA was on right now, a lot of this stuff I don't even look at when all of that's there because I'm focused on that, and it just became a moment in the world when nobody had all of this stuff to distract them, and this horrible thing happened, and people were watching. And not only that, just looking at how politics was going, and we locked in the house, people losing jobs, people hungry, getting benefits and everything taken away. And then we all seen this one thing together where I think, a lot of times maybe even as far back as the Ahmaud Arbery, maybe because things weren't as locked down when that really got out, people wasn't paying attention, but then they could see a little bit of it, and then, wow, the world is still, everybody is paying attention to these hypersensitive things, and this thing drops here, and people are opening their eyes like, man, I didn't know it was like that. That's horrible. And I'm going to go out here and raise my voice for that.
It's like when the kids are talking in class, but then everybody gets quiet, but they don't catch the cue. So you still have the two sitting there playing, and now everybody's looking at them and trying to kind of hint like, oh, you done messed up now. Yep. Now it's on the front page, and now everybody sees it. And I know that only thing I would kind of like, if that these conversations lead to the acknowledgement that there is privilege. And I think we're at the point where people high up are realizing that there is privilege, or either they're smart enough to act like they know that there's privilege.
Yeah.
If you don't say anything, you're saying something. But I know as a coach, and I know you can attest the same thing, that in the coaching realm, we don't get the same opportunities. You can have a coach of Caucasian descent can pretty much do almost anything. I mean, they can do a lot of things and walk out the job and walk into another one the next day.
Yeah.
We kind of know if you mess up, you pretty much done.
It's going to be hard, very, very hard to get back on. That's why I guard the little job I have now. It took me 11 no's to get one yes. And, we did what we did with that yes, and it kind of changed it up. But I always remember them no's and how crushing it was, how it felt at the end. And it would be crazy because you would go in there and you would be so prepared and so detailed and so family oriented and could answer every question. And then you leave and it's just like, no, we're going to give it to somebody else. And some of that, you looked at it and you said, man, is it because I'm black? Is it,
Right. You had the great interview and you're like, man, I know I got this in the bag. The resume good. The references are good. I know you. And then, you see somebody was hired and you're like, was this a dummy interview?
Yeah.
I probably, when I moved from one job to the next, probably filled out 50 resumes, sent out 50 to 60 resumes over the 5 years. And then, and I couldn't even get those jobs and end up getting a job at a place that the team was 10 times better. And I'm like, well, how am I qualified here, but not qualified there? you know, and I even look at jobs, and I know there's a lot to, go into that, but I even looked at jobs that I applied for and didn't even get an email back. And then years later, you know, I'm coaching against them and their program is like, is
Yep.
this really what you wanted? You know what I mean? And it's that just maybe even in that playing field, say, you know what, even if I make the same mistake as someone else, just knowing that I feel like I'll get an opportunity for redemption. I'll get a chance to, do something over. I mean, and it goes across the board. I see coaches that will yell at parents, and our parents won't say anything to them. They
Yeah.
talk to them like they want to. A white coach. Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying that all white coaches do this because I know some great ones, but they'll turn around in the middle of a game and cuss them out, tell them to sit down and be quiet. But if we raise our voice at a player, police got to escort them out because they ready to jump on us. So it's
Yep.
a systemic thing that goes
Yeah. It's
forward.
almost like it's supposed to be that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times when that happens, and it's definitely not that. And I would really love for us as a brush there. I can't tell you how many times I've seen successful coaches, super successful coaches, and the only thing you ever hear about them is they're recruiting. Oh, they go out and they get kids and they do whatever. And we can have other schools that get transfers and win games, and their coach is the next coming. And
Mhm.
like all of that little stuff that just goes on. That's stuff that you got. I need people to acknowledge that we deal with that. We brush it off our shoulder, and we still get up every day and try to be excellent and put excellence in the kids that come under our care every day. And
I
I
re-
want people to just think about how that kind of stuff feels and what it's like to have to deal with that day in and day out.
I realize that when you're doing your thing, you don't have to recruit
You
because
don't. People gonna your program will sell itself.
when you look at Sharman White, he won at Carver, then he went to Miller Grove and won, then he went to Georgia State, then he went to Pace and won. Eventually, you just say, "This guy's just a better coach than me." This
Yeah,
guy,
he's just better.
and then you ask yourself, why wouldn't you send your kid to play for Sharman? You even say like, I got my own son AJ, and it's like, well, if he over there winning and he's sending kids to school, and I'm not, you know, at some point I start counting up my chips and saying, you need to go have a conversation with Coach White and
Yeah.
you go play for him. You know what I mean? So like when you're good, you don't have to recruit because you have a system.
Yep.
Those kid parents will do what it takes to move their kid, legally into the area. Now, the guys that are recruiting, that's just for self, they're doing it for themselves. They're usually not even doing it for the kid.
Yeah.
And that stuff doesn't last long. You'll see a program pop up and they'll win 20 something games. Then the next year they're just down.
Yep.
And that's usually a result of recruiting, and then that person moves to, bring those kids somewhere else. And then that program will blow up. Like you look on the list and they got 12 transfers over 6-6.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of what's going on there. But when you see the fruit growing and every year they're consistently winning, and even when they're down, they're winning.
Yeah. Mm.
And I guess the last question that kind of popped up in my mind was, do you feel like we're headed with all of this progression, that we're headed in regression, with the fact that you look around and everybody's, well, don't spend your money here, only spend your money here, support Black businesses, which I'm great because I have a Black business, as you can see behind you. But at what point does it turn to, you went out of segregation in the 60s and 70s, and now you're kind of pushing back into segregation?
That's a worry. I always tell people I would rather spend my money with allies. Because I mean, here's the other side of this, and yeah, it's Black Lives Matter forever, But some black businesses and some of that stuff just as bad as some of the white ones, and you don't need to be spending with them too. And I think that we should be able to say that. I think the biggest reason that we're in the position that we're in as a nation is because people have not been allowed to call a thing or really be real about stuff. And at the end of the day, I want to support my own as much as I can, but I also want to support good businesses, and I also want to support allies of what the world that we're trying to build. Because there are some businesses out here that aren't black. Like I seen that Ben and Jerry's statement, and I just thought that was awesome. The way that it wasn't a statement, like they actually came out and called out everything that was going on and what needs to happen for it to change, so they can get my dollar. You know what I mean? I think the better statement should be is to just stop spending our money with people who oppress us. Stop spending our money with people who have they foot on our necks, and stop running and building them up. And you can see that. You can go and you can look at donors list and see what political party they do. You can go and you can look and see who they lobbying to come in and do that. Now it takes a little bit of work, but I think in this fight, the work should be done. And you look at that and you say, I don't want to deal with that. I want to deal with people who want to help my community and want to help people who look like me, or help people that want to help people who look like me. And that to me is more paramount than just saying we only buying with black, because I just to be honest, I don't even think that that's realistic.
No.
I think it's just a way for people to jump on and say, now, yes, do I want to go out and spend as much as I can with good black businesses? Of course, that's paramount. But I definitely want to work with allies. Like even when the Target got looted, Target came out and put out a statement and said they understood why it happened and they stand with. Now we want to see action, because I think everybody jumped on this statement wave in the middle of last week, and it was just like blah 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 blah, Black Lives Matter. It was really
everybody had to put out a statement.
Yeah, and it was just like, come on, man, your policies and the stuff that you do don't even match up with that. So I'm not dumb. You might can get everybody who this is enough for, but all it takes is to just dig more and to know that statement is disingenuous that you put out, and it's not even real. You're just trying to make sure you keep the black dollar in your store or shopping with your products. And so I really think with all of that, it's go with the best black businesses you can, but shop with allies of us. Because as we're seeing right now, this movement is not just about black people no more. I'm seeing people of all colors outside fighting to make the world better.
Yeah, and most of the people that are not saying something, you got to mix that. Some of them just don't know what to say, and they don't want to say the wrong thing. And you saying the wrong thing can be worse than saying nothing at all. I mean, like saying is, I'd rather you think I'm a fool than I open my mouth and I'm a fool.
Yeah.
So a lot of them just aren't saying anything. But like you said, my fear is that what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn it to all black schools. You're gonna have the whites pull more out of the schools, which there goes the resources a lot with the finances, because most blacks that are well off are trying to move their kids away from black schools. So they're going to spend their resources into predominantly white schools. So, while you're going pro black, you're not necessarily having a strategy to say, you know what, if I do this, now what I'm going to do is continue to create an atmosphere where if you have a white kid who's never grew up around a black kid, or a black kid who's never grew up around a white kid, once they interact, they don't know how to communicate. There's going to be fear on both sides. I don't know if this cop is trying to kill me. I don't know if this guy's trying to kill me. Nobody like you said, we don't want to call what it is, in a lot of cases, if we walk out and somebody come up and they look in a certain way, we looking too, but we don't want to say that.
Yeah.
Looking like, and then we give them the nod, and that's kind of like the safety, like, what's up, they don't respond, or they looking at you, you have the thoughts too, but you can't be so upset that someone who has never seen them is like on guard. because you on guard and you around it every day.
Yeah, yeah,
But we don't want to say that. You get called all kind of names. You get, written off like you're not supporting your people. But in reality, it's just you being truthful, you're being real, and you got a lot of guys that don't need a statement. You got some college coaches that, team full of black kids. And if they were racist, you would have heard about it by
yeah.
now.
You would have heard it. Yep.
Like those kids talk. They're gonna say, "Nah, you won't come here." They wouldn't continue to get kids in. Now, if you had a high major, yeah, they're gonna go there for the TV experience. But everybody other than the Power Five schools, those kids aren't gonna stay. They're gonna leave.
Yeah.
So it almost becomes a point of people not being, made to feel like you have to make a statement. Yeah, you do need to make a statement to say I am against this, but I wouldn't necessarily say that you have to come out and say that I'm not racist,
Yeah.
because at the point you say that, it's like now you shine a light on yourself. And usually the statement following that is, I have blah blah black friends, which makes you look racist because now you
Yeah.
got the number. It's like, so you counting them now.
I,
So you
I
got
would
50
really
black friends.
love when they come with that statement to come behind that. I am not racist, but I understand the way the systems are in this country that I have benefited from it. I noticed that, and I will do my part to fight that. That
Right.
to me means 1,000 times more than somebody telling me that they're not racist, because it's just saying I acknowledge you, I hear you, I feel you, I see you, I get where you're coming from when you have the gripes that you have, and I'm not going to minimize them just because I haven't dealt with them. And I think that's that would be just a huge step to just say, you know what? No, we like black people. We have them with us, but please understand that I have, like, because there's no way that you can't benefit from it or be torn down from it if you're breathing air in the United States of America. There's no way. Either you're benefiting from it or you're being oppressed from it every day. And it don't mean that you're coming out of the house calling people the N-word or doing any of that. It just simply means that the systems are set up for you to have more and to have a head start over what that I have, and that you acknowledge that and you'll do your part to speak out against it.
Yeah, and one thing I would hope is that we acknowledge that we have black privilege. It's not necessarily as privileged, but there's black privilege. I know for sure that at the schools that I'm working at, Creekside, South Fulton, and Fairburn, if I were white, 6'4", 270, bald head, tattoos, I probably wouldn't have gotten that job, because it would just have looked
It
like,
wouldn't have looked right.
all right, this guy's a skinhead. He got all these black kids, and what is he gonna be able to tell the kids? And how's he gonna mentor? Because he don't know what my kid been through. So it almost turns to if you can accept the fact that I wouldn't have gotten this job if I was white, then we have to accept that I didn't get that job because I was black. And now what do we do about it? Are
Yeah.
we really gonna clear the slate? Or are we gonna say, nah, we're gonna keep it how it is. We're just gonna acknowledge it. Because there's some white coaches on the South Side that has gotten rings with nothing but black players, and they're looked at as, oh, the only reason they're down here because that school has talent. He wouldn't have taken a job at a mediocre school somewhere else. And why did they have to bring in that coach? Why couldn't they bring in this coach? So I'm sure, I haven't had anyone speak up, but I'm sure they get just as much criticism for
Oh,
having
guaranteed.
black players,
Guaranteed. And I think it those guys, we always hold them up. Like, you can, it's some great coaches out here, white coaches that get out here and do well for our kids and do all of that. Like, it's just great coaches everywhere, regardless of color. I've noticed that. Like, society would like us to come up and think that there's a certain style of coach that is just great with the X's and O's and can do all of this, but like just being around it and even winning a state championship, what I realize is whatever the color is, if you get in, if you can connect with your kids, if you love them, you can get them to play hard for you, get them to play hard for each other and care about more than just themselves, then you have a shot at it. And like to me, like with my children, I wouldn't care about the color. Those are the things that I'm going to go and look for in a coach if I want my kid to play for them.
Right. And I think you said the key word is the connect piece. And it's crazy that, the coaching circle and the athletic circle, they're so far ahead of society that we know you can drop us in any school and we're going to look for a way to connect. If it's all white kids, if it's all Asian, because we want to win, we're going to do whatever it takes to win. You can give me a bunch of one-legged midgets. I'm going to try to find some way. Maybe they got to hold each other up, but we're going to try to find a way to, first of all, connect with the kids, because we know you can't win without a relationship. They don't trust you. After we get that connection, you can get them to buy into what you're trying to sell them. What they believe in you. They believe that, okay, this plan is going to work because they connected with you. They had that relationship. But I think the problem in society is that there's a disconnect and nobody wants to connect. Nobody wants to have the conversation. Nobody wants to acknowledge that there's a disconnect. Nobody wants to do that, and we won't get anywhere until we reconnect, and like we said, how long before this dies down, when they open up something else and when school goes back, does this go away? And everybody's saying now that, oh, well, what about Corona? But it hasn't gone anywhere. The rates are actually going up, but because we have this to focus on, we're not even looking at it. We out protesting, marching, doing this, burning stuff up, and not even caring about what we were so focused on last 3 weeks. And now the fear is that once something else happens, are we just gonna act like this doesn't exist?
Yeah.
It's not gonna stop, but what if something big happened? Then it's like, okay, well, social injustice, we'll sweep that away because that's not the hot thing right now.
And I definitely don't want that. Like, even with, I see everybody trying to put together plans for coming back to school. I would really like schools that have, African American or just all kids. Like, these discussions need to be had because we're going to come back to school and, we've had these kids that have sat home. They've watched all of this on TV. They're seeing the world change right before their eyes. And you can almost already see the explosives being set when we get back to school. If there hasn't been a conversation had or some kind of meeting of kids with people in charge at the schools to try to find a new world to navigate in, because I can already see it now. You get there and some of that stuff that I got on the list that my kids sent me that they deal with every day, you can just already see that kids are not going to go and put up with that. So are we going to continue to do it systemically like we do and just throw all the black kids in alternative school? Or are we going to actually come back and sit down and let's have a real conversation and then see how we can all live in a place? Like, that's a thing, man. Just working. Now, don't get me wrong. I've seen some kids who probably needed to go to alternative school with some of the stuff that they've done, but I've also seen the systemic way that it's been used. Oh, we don't like him. Let's just keep writing this kid up. Once he gets 7 write-ups, he can go to tribunal, and then from tribunal, we can throw him in alternative school. And it's just like, man, but I never seen anybody try to connect with this kid, and all he really was doing was crying out for help. But you looked at his skin, and you say, he's a bad kid. He's disruptive. We don't want to listen to him. That kind of stuff, it really needs to be addressed. And I'm almost thinking that it doesn't matter what happens next. I just think that it's a new world when you see these young kids that a lot of this stuff that they were being told as they've been coming up to keep to themselves and not say anything about, they're not going to do it anymore.
Right. And that's why I always try to, on my schedule, put my kids in uncomfortable situations. I try to, go to a place on the north side or a private school where, I know you're going to get called a name or two. I know you're going to get looked at. I know the referees when we go out to the country, you're not going to get a call. And myself, I won't get one either. But at least now through sports, you have had an opportunity to see how you're going to react, because what are you going to do when you get a job and your boss says that? Are you going to, flip out, throw the table over, and then go home and tell your wife, I kept it real? You know, hey, can you unreel it and go back and get your job? So it's, sports does something. It's a big, if I think if the world can follow the sports world minus a couple ignorant things that does happen in sports, then real change can be made.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
Well, Coach, hey, we done been on for almost an hour, and
All right.
see if we got any questions on social media. I don't see any questions popping up, but anything that you want to leave everybody?
Just want to tell everybody, man, just to, continue to try to find instances to love one another, pray for one another, and just continue to try to push each other to be better. I know it's uncomfortable right now, but there's your relationship with greatness is dependent upon how uncomfortable you can be. And everybody says make America great and all of this, but I mean, what uncomfort have we given to make it great? And I think right now we're at the beginning stages of being uncomfortable. And Coach Mack, maybe we'll get to see a little bit of it on the inside of our lives, but I really hoping when my son and your kids are our ages and they have kids like we do, they're not going through the same things that we've been going through and seeing throughout history. And so that's why I think this moment is so big and so great. And I want everybody to continue speaking out the right way, and everybody just, find great people and stick together with them in this time right now. Find great people and just stick to them, stick together, and let's just stop being scared to call a thing sometimes.
Yeah. And what I'll leave you with is that make sure you give yourself a chance to be heard, not just to be seen. Because while you're in the classroom and you're not paying attention, or you're the one that's in the hall all the time and getting in trouble or doing something that's gonna, put your livelihood at jeopardy, you won't be in a space that your voice even matters. Then in reality, it comes to a point you ask, they're going to say your life does not matter because your track record is crime and disobedience and this and that. If you and I weren't degreed men, black men with degrees, we wouldn't even be on this stage to
nowhere close.
like even impact. Like we could be the same person, but if you didn't go to college and get that degree, you're not even going to be able to talk to young people. You're not going to be able to have an impact. All the coaches out there in the world, all those guys, they have college degrees. For the most part, it's somewhere. It's not all in education, but they've kind of put in the work and they have followed the rules enough to be able to make change. You can't go so rogue that I'm gonna do what I want to do and F the world and F this, F that, I'm gonna get change. You gotta kind of play by the rules a little bit and then you change the game. Because you can't change the game. Like I said, you can't hate from outside the club. Like I get in first and then you can, make a change. But you can throw rocks from outside the gate all you want. And they're gonna say, well, if you care, you would do what it takes to get inside and make a change. The only thing I would leave you with is make sure that you give yourself a chance. If you go out here and you make a decision and you get caught, then you can't vote. You get caught up in the system. Now you're on, probation and parole. You got to go see an officer all the time and get your money. You can try to go get a job and you can't go get a job. Let's say if you want to even go to Subway and they say, well, I see you on camera throwing rocks through, Subway's window. I'm not gonna hire you, black, white, Chinese, whatever. If I own a business, I'm not gonna hire you if I see you trashing businesses. And that's just, I don't care what color, you could be a fraud, So you have to make sure that you protect your, protect your witness, protect your ability to be hireable, protect your ability to be heard.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll leave y'all with, and hopefully, you learned something tonight, and it was a great conversation. I
Oh
appreciate you.
yeah, I appreciate that, man. I'll
Uh,
be getting with you, coach. You be safe, man. Be blessed, brother.
we got Coach Ye. He's on. He said he was gonna be in the car. I think he's on a road trip or something, but he's been listening on. Head coach down at Truett McConnell, so he's been in. And, I just appreciate him for coming in because it's always great when it's new. You have 50 people in here, but then when you continue the conversation, I know people get zoomed out. Tired of being Zoom Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but it is good to just have somebody listen in.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
hey, we'll be back. I appreciate y'all.
All right, coach.
All right.